you'll be touching young people, you'll be touching their families, you'll be touching the community that they're a part of with your work this summer. We'll spend a lot more time talking about history. We'll be spending a lot more time talking about what will happen in Tennessee. But today, what we really want to do is take a quick second and give you a chance to introduce.
Something inside so strong.
It's nice to be welcomed into your community in that manner. As Mr. Roberts said, I am Dr. Juanita Reynolds. I am currently the Director of Student Services and Safety for the Tennessee Unified School District. I have worked in education since 90-something. And started off as a teacher in Oakland Unified. I moved to Sacramento in 2001, where I worked in Sacramento City Unified School District at a school called Bret Harte, and fell under the guidance of a wonderful woman named Dr. Ramona Bishop, and then furthered myself and came to, I think the next place I came was Twin Rivers, and I worked at Castoria Elementary School as an instructional coach, working with teachers and principals on teaching and how to better service our students. I worked at a school called SABA, which is an alternative education program, and I was an administrator there. Some people call it the end of the road. I call it the beginning of a new beginning. After SABA, I went to Intercom. And from Intercom, there you go. From Intercom, I went to Jefferson Elementary School and then to the district office. So kind of a path.
And I've been a part of this work for 20-some years, 25, almost 30 years. And my pathway has been starting as a classroom teacher. I started as a classroom teacher in Sacramento City Unified School District. Taught there and then moved on into administration in Fairfield Suisun Unified School District. My dad was retired military, so I spent most of my life being educated overseas. So I didn't even move to this country until I was in high school. So I tell people my pathway was very unique. I was into diversity before diversity was into me. So the pathway was teaching in Sacramento City Unified School District, vice principal in Fairfield Suisun Unified School District. Then I got a phone call, and the phone call was, hey, Mari, I'm acquiring a high school and an elementary school. Do you think you could come and help me out? That was our current mayor, Kevin Johnson. So I was one of the founding principals of Sacramento High School School of Health Science. So we did that work, hard work. So I learned what the charter school movement was all about. So I was principal at Sacramento High School, and PS7 is elementary school. And then from there, I got that desire to grow and to write about my experience. And that's where Juanita and I met. We both were in the doctorate program at Mills College in Oakland, California. And I'm proud to say, one of my professors was Congresswoman Barbara Lee. We just had a wonderful, magnificent time there. So it was incredible, learned a lot. And at that time when I was in the doctorate program, University of Pacific said, hey, we'd like you to do some work for us. So I did some teacher training went on to work with the Fortune School while I was in the doctorate program, and did teacher training in the Bay Area, in Concord, and also here in Sacramento. I still work for University of Pacific as an adjunct professor, and they send me to China every summer to work with their doctorate candidates and their master's program. And I do it along with, maybe some of you have met my husband, but my husband Mark Harris is a professor at University of California, Merced, where I work with him in China, and I also co-teach with him at the University of California, Merced. I love being with our brown and black students in the Central Valley, so I do a lot of work there. And a lot of it is about women in leadership. And so I do a lot of conversations about what it was like for us to move up the educational ladder into administration. Currently, I'm with University of Pacific, as I said, as a professor with them, and I'm a vice principal in Elk Grove Unified School District. And I work at a school that is predominantly Vietnamese. So our population is very diverse. I think we have exactly 90 African American students, and I'm the only black, official worker on the campus. So the route has been a very unique one. We love what we do. Discipline is one of the things that is a primary part of my job. And so I do want to share some of those tips with you. But I want to say that what you're going to embark on this summer is important work, because you're going to give the students that change, that element that they need, that they will not get from a traditional public school.
So this morning, we're going to give you guys a series of things while you write your name tags down. Everything that we do, for the most part, is really going to be collaborative in nature. And you guys are going to work together. It's not about one idea. It's not about one thought. It's about how we come together as a collaborative to achieve a common goal. And that is how we service our young people this summer. While we're doing that, I want to understand any historians. Anybody who did this last year? I see a few familiar faces. Okay. So you guys are our historians. You are our experts on your experience. And so we will lean on you to help people who are new, to help guide and help direct us as well, because you actually walked in those shoes last summer.
While you're making your name tags, what I'd like to do is a peace circle. And back in the day, we called it classroom reading, where we had a chance to share, and in this case, you're going to share who you are, your university or college or work background, and you're going to share what your expectations are, okay?
Hi everyone, my name is Veronica Williams. I am a graduating senior, fall
Brown,
2015.
you articulated in your way your presentation about yourself. You need to get that every day from your students. They should always have a chance to greet you. Now, one way that I would alter this for many of you is I could have put some sentence frames up to tell you exactly what I wanted you to address, especially if you're an English learner or you have you can't focus very well. You would have, I am, and you leave a blank, the school I went to was, and you have it, you leave it blank, and then at the end, to summarize, this is what I learned today, or this is what I learned yesterday, and let the students finish that out. Every student deserves the chance to be heard, to have a voice, and this is one activity that you can do to make sure they're listening to their neighbor or respectfully to the group, and they're getting a chance to speak. So use this activity as a chance to start your day with everyone having something to say. And you can put on it what you want as the topic each day. But each day, start it off with something to get kids grounded, to make them feel ownership, and for you as a teacher to hear and tap the pulse. How's everybody feeling? Are they going to speak up today? And yeah, you're going to get some shy ones, and that's okay. Eventually you'll say, God, they're talking too much. At first they only said one word, and now they're putting together full sentences. And also teach grammar. Teach the sentence structure. Teach academic English. Very important to address those every single chance you get. You need to address those areas. Thank you for your participation. Why don't we take a chance?
Program this summer, what you want to give to your students, our students. And I say our students because even if they are not directly in your classroom, if you interact with them, if you visit another classroom, if you go to another site, they are all our students. They do not belong to any one individual. And we have to make sure that we recognize that. I heard a lot of people mentioning that they wanted to have connections with the parents. And they want the parents to care. And I'm going to tell you that most parents know how to care even if they don't know the language to engage you in or to engage the school in. So we want to make sure that we're not pushing them out because we think that they don't care, but that we're pulling them in by equipping them with the tools to interact with us. I heard a lot of people say they want to make sure that the children know how to read because they've had this experience where they have seen where children have not been taught to learn. And I say that we can do that. But we need to understand that when we are getting together in the classrooms with students, that sometimes there are barriers and things that come into play. And we need to be open-minded with that when we are engaging in the process of teaching them the love of learning and reading, the love of education in general. I heard some people say it was about personal growth, which you will grow through this process. You will absolutely grow. You will see yourself when it's really hard and difficult, when you say, oh, this is not what I signed up for. When you said, I signed up to teach children how to read. And you didn't realize that you're also going to be partial social worker. And that you're going to be partial parent. Mother, father, auntie, uncle. That you are going to fulfill that void, that gap for different students. And it's not all students, but there will be someone who you will definitely be filling that for. I heard people say that they just didn't want kids sitting down, right? So you see what I'm doing right now? When my teachers do this, I say, you are not the sage on the stage. Nobody came to see you perform. Turn over the education to the students. Interact with the students. Now you are all young adults and young people, so I'm up here a little bit staging on the stage for you. But that's not necessarily the way I want you to teach your classes. Because it's not about me, it's about you and your children and the students. It's about what they get, what they have. I heard people say they wanted to grow as a leader. You will grow as a leader. You will push yourselves. Your students will push you. The question is, what happens when they push and you're not ready? How do you handle that? And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Someone said that they know that the students can be great. I would challenge you to say that they come to you great. Maybe it just doesn't manifest itself that way. So our children come prepared and great to be great, that they are great. But maybe, if they don't know how to read, maybe the way that the person is taught them in school is by misbehaving a little bit, so they get that attention, good, bad, or indifferent. Some people say they want to be a teacher. Wonderful! That's what I want to hear. Great, right? We want you all to be teachers. You are a teacher. In your everyday life, whatever you're doing, you are a teacher. Anytime you talk to someone, a young person, whether you want to or not, you are educating them. Whether you are teaching them a lesson about themselves, about life in general, about you, about society. You are always a teacher. I heard someone say, which was really interesting to me, I'm not picking on anybody, that they are probably going to go into politics, which means that they probably won't be in education, and this will be their opportunity. If you go in politics, you are an educator. You touch educational policy. Someone's parent works for AXA. That's an organization, Association of California School Administrators. They deal with our public policy. There's the teachers union, there's our classified unions, there are bus unions. We are governed by policy. There's an education code out there, 44100, talks about having teachers and staff members that look like the students in the school. So whatever you do, you are involved in education. Let's see what else. Building confidence. People talk about building confidence. One of the biggest things that we have the power to do in education is to help build confidence in students, but we also, at the drop of a dime, are able to deflate students. Whether you tell them what they did was wrong, whether you embarrass them in front of a group of people, you hold the power to build it, to also inflict harm, quite frankly. And we want to make sure that we are cognizant that we are always trying to build capacity and confidence in our young people, because they will learn, they will excel, given the appropriate people and tools. So I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to talk about classroom management and engaging the student. And you need to understand that in order to teach them, you must engage them. You must plan and prepare. You cannot show up the morning of and say, we are going to read this book. And that's going to be what we're going to do today. You have to have some forethought. So if there's one thing you guys need to know offhand, is that you must plan. You must prepare yourselves. As an educator, you must prepare by having a learning goal or objective. So your objective for today is, and your students need to be able to articulate that. They need to be able to know, what are they going to get out of the day? We're going to have fun, we're going to do what? Make it engaging. What are they going to do? But be clear, have a target. Know your goal. Because that's the first step in getting them engaged. If you don't know where you're going, you got a bunch of people following behind you, and guess what? Everybody's lost with you, right? So you have to have a goal. You have to know where you're going. So I know where I'm going. I come in the morning, I have my goals and objectives, and we do our community building. And Anita, Anka decides she's going to cut the food, right? Because Annika got up this morning and she had to help her mom, get the food together, and they were up late last night already because their little brother was sick. But I have a goal. I have an agenda. But Annika is acting up. How do you handle that? What happens on those days? What happens on those days when it's really rough? I'm going to tell you that teaching is not for the faint of heart. Sometimes it won't be all happy, all joy. Because sometimes our kids come with things that you will have to address. And if you address them, you can teach them how to read, you can teach them how to do anything that you need to. But I'm going to tell you that it's not always going to be easy. So I want you guys to take 2 seconds, and we're going to do some peer share. There's somebody right beside you, or sometimes there'll be a threesome. But talk to people about you. What do you think will be a challenge for maybe little Miss Annika, who comes in the morning and you have your goals down, you're ready to go, but she's had a rough day at home. At 7 o'clock already this morning, she didn't go to bed till 2 a.m. How would you address that challenge? Tell the person beside you. Take 30 seconds and then switch speakers. Thank you.
Very carefully, because she's probably very fragile. Because she's been through a lot, so problem solving, there's a lot of different ways you can approach it.
That's probably going to add to the stress and the annoyance, so you gotta address her really gently and try not to say the wrong words.
If you just keep pressuring her, it's just going to make her even more frustrated. And that's really not going to do any good for you or for her.
So if I do that, just bring it back to me. Thank you. Or whoever the speaker is. You guys shared out. Anybody care to share a way in which they would have handled Miss Annika?
Talking about how we would go ahead and make sure we don't broadcast in front of the class. That we would actually take time, like the very next break, to go ahead and talk to her. Maybe even do it indirectly. Like, oh man, sometimes you have a long night when you come here. Like, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on besides here. I know how it is. And then just give her the opportunity to open up what she feels like, in case she doesn't really want to disclose to you what's going on. First chance you get to break and have a talk.
And it's also building up that trust. You gotta let her know that you're gonna be there. That's what those extra hours are for on the weekends, right? You gotta let her know that she can't hesitate to call you. That you're always gonna be there. So you gotta build up. You gotta break her barrier down to build her up, build that trust up. That's how I see it.
One of the things I would do is just to identify with what's going on. I ask the kids, you know, what's their highs, what's their lows of the day. And I can basically judge off of what they say. If it turns out to be a problem throughout the day that it needs to be isolated, like you said, in that situation, you know, I'll wait till there's a convenient time and I'll pull them over to the side, you know, and I'll say, hey, you know, what's going on? And they'll talk to me. And what I do is I try to identify, empathize with them and let them know and maybe share something to gain that trust and let them know that there's other alternatives. Ask them what they need, what could have done, or what did they want to have happened. Let them get that out and kind of come to their own decision. But I do try to turn what they may think is negative at that time into a positive light and make it a strength and let them know that they were courageous to share that. And just try to make it a better decision, knowing that tomorrow going into it, they have a choice to control their emotion and how they feel about it, although it may be a great responsibility. You know.
Ms. Brown's idea was based on whatever environment we're in, like if we're in a classroom setting where there's other kids that we can't necessarily leave at the time, maybe make her your personal assistant for the day, or give her a special task. If you see it's a student that is behaving in a way that they don't normally behave in, you know, give them a special task for the day, and then when you have time, just kind of break off and see what happened earlier. Or even, he talked about doing something physical, like having them jump up and do something for a second just to get her mind off of it. Just those tactics where we don't have to necessarily take ourselves away from the rest of the kids, but still be attentive to whatever she's dealing with.
One of the things that were mentioned on the walk home, speak about what was bothering them, and what that does is allow them to be able to trust that they can bring their problems to you. One of the things that I learned here at the main center was, you know, at the gate, that's where the kids are coming through. So we meet them at the gate and we're saying, hey, high five, how's it going, how's your day? And then before we even get in the program, we're able to identify who's having a bad day and who's not. And then we can address that before we're in the middle of the program.
So our group talks about a lot of the similar things, like taking a nap, being personal helper, but a lot of these kids have a problem with expressing that emotion and telling somebody something's wrong and asking for help. So you also have to be in tune with all of your students, and even though it's hard that first week, it should be really getting to know their personality, know who they are, knowing their parents, because when they are having those problems coming, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, not only is it our responsibility to make their day better, but also vocalize that with the parents so that they know that their child is coming in tired and sleepy, and then we figure out what we can do better here and at home so that they don't come like that anymore.
So a lot of what you guys talked about was relationships. So you need to understand it is critical that you establish rapport and build relationships with your students. If you do not do that, you have lost the battle. If you do not do that, hear me, you have lost the battle. If you do not know that they live with one parent, two parents, grandparent, aunt, uncle, I tell people all the time, oh, you're such a good teacher. I was a pretty good teacher, but what made me that pretty good teacher was that I took the time every day to check in with my kids. I got to know my students thoroughly. Who they lived with, allergies, what they like to do, what they like to eat, who their friends were, who their enemies were, if they came from families who gang bang. I took the time to do that, and I often hear people say, it takes away from the instructional minutes. We're going to get behind if we don't do that. You get so much further if you take the time to engage the students and know them. Think in your mind, think back to a teacher who you think was really good. Think of a teacher who was really good. In your personal experience, someone who educated you. Some of us are thinking, some of us are like, ooh, uh-oh. Right? So I'm in the 40 plus club. And I say, I remember Francesca Ferrari, my first grade teacher. Francesca a Ferrari took me to McDonald's and to Alameda Beach in first grade. I remember Mrs. J, 5th grade. I took dance on the weekend. She came to my May Day dance. I remember Miss Gutian in high school, because I got to continuation school, and the teacher told me that I was a dummy. And she said, no, she's in advanced math. Get the math teacher from the high school to come over here and teach her math. So I'm saying to you, that's 3 that I remember really well. Really well. How many people can think of a teacher that they remember? What did the teacher do for you, Mr. Rich?
My 2nd grade teacher, she was fantastic. She took the extra time to to go further with the lesson, whatever that was. Say a student didn't get it at first, and she would go the extra mile and actually take the time to maybe bring it to that student in a different way, because not every student learns the same and pick up things the same way. So instead of just bypassing that student, that she would figure out another way, and that's what she did.
Days when you don't feel like it, you have to have that spirit with your students. They are going to respond and react to who and how you are. If I came into my classroom as doom and gloom, my students were going to be doom and gloom for the day. Right? So you want to make sure you have that same motivation and spirit. Your first week, you're establishing relationships. You are creating norms. Not what you say. Don't put stuff down on people. You incorporate it with them. You develop it with it. What does it look like to listen when other people are speaking or reading? What does it look like to listen? Because we never learn that. So you want to engage all of those things with your students. So I know we're running behind on time and I need to let Dr. Harris get going. But there are a couple of things I want you guys to really remember. The teacher or the adult, the person in your life who affected you, that made the positive influence, you want to take whatever that is and put that into your own daily practice. You want to plan. You need clear learning goals and objectives. You must establish norms for your classrooms, not alone in isolation. Don't you guys sit here as a group and say, well, this is what our class rules are going to be. But you create that culture, that family in your classrooms. Is there anything else that I need to say? Dr. Harris is going to give us some more. Hey, and make it fun, please. Make it fun. If you don't make it fun, they are not going to want to be there. Period.
And one thing I want to say is I want to remind you, you are role models. You are role models for your students. But also remember that you're doing them a favor when you're teaching them how to do school. You're teaching them those rules. So that's why we said when you build those relationships, teach them how to do school. Teach them how to value it. You're all in this room because you value school. Also, just a reminder, and I did my dissertation on this, 80% of the educators educating our children are white female teachers. So that's what they see every day. There is no one that looks like them or understands why they wear braids, why they wear the kinky look. There's nobody who understands or even compliments that. If anything, it's, what is that? Dr. Harris, there's a hairstyle in my classroom you need to check out. I'm like, what? But they don't know. They don't live amongst us. They don't care about us. And especially when you have a school with Asians who are new Vietnamese recruits to the country, oh, they love them. They come to me and tell me what a wonderful class it is because they're in it. So you need to remind yourself that what you're imparting on these kids this summer is very important. The kids now are taking Common Core State Standards. Would you say that, please? Common Core State Standards. And it's a whole different ballgame. And so these are just a couple of tips I want to give you. In math now, we have real world math. You read the problem and you pick out what you need to do. So you need to do those kinds of things with the students. And even if you did one a day, to be able to say, God, what do we need to do here? What operation do we need to use? What numbers are involved in this operation? Do we know how to multiply? Well, then maybe I need to back up and let's learn how to multiply first. Another thing I want you to do with reading, when you give them books. Now, I don't know if you're doing guided reading. I don't know what kind of reading the Freedom School program does with the students. But make sure you look over the story first and pick out the vocabulary words. Teach those first. And not only teaching the word, but do a description, do a body movement that goes with that word. Do something that gets our students who love to move, love to make rhymes, give them something to do with those words. Then read the book and ask questions. Don't just read a story and it's done. Comprehension is the biggest issue we have with our children in public schools, because a lot of them are coming up with, what is it, ADHD, they don't want to focus on the reading. So we tell them, you've got to do it a different way. Also for writing, would you please start an interactive notebook? Usually what that is a composition notebook where the student is given a prompt and you teach them how to answer a prompt. Give them the sentence frames first and then eventually pull those away. And when we said starting with a goal, have a goal where you start with sentence frames. Show them how to start to make a topic sentence. Show them how to start to make details that go with that topic sentence. Also in an interactive notebook, they can write a note to you. How did everything go today? Write that in your notebook. And you must take that and read it and write a note back. Have them write a note to a neighbor in the class or a friend in the class. Have them give it to the neighbor and let them write back. Give them lots of experiences with writing, but fun experiences. This Freedom School experience should not look identical to what they see in the classroom every day, 180 days of the year. This is not punishment. No, please don't do that. This is you showing them how to value learning. Because I can tell you now, after having been in China for 4 summers teaching Chinese students, oh, they're ready for us. They got a plan. Because I know my husband and I, we always asked each other, why do they pay us to come over here? They want to know, Dr. Mari, teach me just like you do in America. We want to get out of memorization, and we want to get into thinking like you think, how you collaborate in your schools. They want that because their goal is to come over here and go to university. Send their children over here to go to university. Take your spot. Oh, and it's real. The numbers are tremendous. When I first started going, representing University of Pacific, there were very few, because we get together as expats, and you know what that means, with all the American teachers, and we sit around and we talk with each other about the universities we represent. Now, oh, you got the Harvards and the Yale, everybody's over there trying to recruit those students. And you got 1 billion people to work with. So the competition, I am honest, and I know Juanita is as well. We're honest with our students. If you don't want this, there is somebody who does. Parent universities. Do parent universities with your parents. Teach them about what you're going to be doing this summer with their kids. This is what we're going to do. And you may have to do it in a way where you're creative and you go to them. Maybe they're not going to come here to the center. Maybe you have to go to the communities where you can set up some community meetings. You need to educate the parents about what you do every day. Because you're working hard and you're working out of love and joy for their children. And it's a compliment to you. If I could get a district to come in here and recruit, oh my goodness. We need teachers of color. I know that when I came into the profession, I started seeing people leaving. And we've been around over 25 years now, and nobody's coming in. And so I'm the only one at my school. And is it Michelle, who said she's the only one at her school? She said she's the only one at her school, and it's kind of the trend. You're not seeing teachers of color. And so the white teachers are pushing back when I tell them, hey, let me share with you what my dissertation topic was about how to teach African American males. They're like, we've been through that, culturally relevant teaching. We don't need that. But yet, who do they send to me to suspend? Every single one of us. That's all I do all day. I'm not suspending any Asian kid. Oh, well, if they even come in the office, mama, grandmama, grandfather, father, and the attorney, everybody comes. And the East Indians, oh, they all come. They're up in arms. You gave my child a behavior citation. I said, I'm just trying to correct and teach behavior. No, they don't even want that.
So, okay, and I know there's one, but I just have to say this because I asked to see your curriculum. And I wanted to see it, and I wanted to know if you guys had seen this yet. And they said that some people have and some people won't, and they're in Tennessee. But I told you that you can't pop in the day of and just start doing stuff, right? And so I just have to say this to you. This tells you the Common Core standard that this lesson is to address. This tells you the skill. You cannot come in the morning and read something and think that you will be prepared to educate a group. I don't care if they're 5, 10, 15, 20 students, unless you're prepared. So whoever is responsible for making sure you have access to the curriculum and the materials, if you don't have it, you need to ask so that you can plan and prepare. But I'm looking at this, and I myself, with 20 plus years in education, would not be able to just run into a classroom and just deliver and deliver well. So the expectation is that you plan and prepare yourselves. And I'm sorry, I just had to say this.
There was a question that we asked each of you, are you prepared to work 50 hours and get paid for 40? Remember the question? Because I kept saying, I said it 3 or 4 times at Sac State. I stayed here about 7 or 8 times because there were some people, I needed them to get out, and they left. Because I knew that honestly, they really didn't want to work. Our children need workers. They need motivators. They need inspirers. They do not need people who are simply doing a summer job. Okay? And that's all she's saying to you. When you see, you will get this in some form. When you see this, you have to be prepared to implement it. Ms. Davis?